Eric, great to see you. Congrats on the book.
Thank you, my friend. It was a labor of love. We've gone to #1 in just about every category on Amazon. I think people are voting with their pocketbooks right now, and it's a great honor.
Yeah, you've got a great foreword from what I understand. Very difficult to pull that off. How did you get this guy to write a foreword for you?
Well, not only did my father write the foreword, but then they surprised me. I go, listen, no one's reading my book for me. If I'm going to do the book, I'm reading my book. In the audio version, and so my father wrote the foreword, and then all of a sudden one day I just got a file from his assistant, and he read the foreword, and it was kind of a very sweet moment. But listen, it's very simple. You were a big part of this fight. They tried to kill us. They tried to put us under siege. They did everything they could to destroy our family. They impeached him. They made up the dirty dossiers. They made up Russiagate. I was getting calls from the FBI saying that we had secret servers communicating with the Kremlin in the basement of Trump Tower. Hey, you've been in that building a million times. Everybody knows it's a lie. You don't keep servers in the basement of towers. They flood. They deplatformed us off of Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. They weaponized every DA, every AG in the country. I became the most subpoenaed man in American history. They took my father off the ballot in Maine. They took him off the ballot in Colorado. They tried to destroy us. They deplatformed us. They debanked us. They did everything they could. They raided our home. They raided Mar-a-Lago. They raided Melania's closet. They raided Barron's room. They did everything they could. And then they tried to kill my father. And then they tried to kill him the second time at the golf course. And then they just shot our friend Charlie Kirk. They've done everything they could to take us out as a movement, as a family, as a group of people who believe in this country. And the story had to be told. And I promise you, Sean, it's going to ruffle feathers when it comes out in exactly 3 days, 4 days. It's going to ruffle feathers because I was so honest and did not hold back. And every single word that I wrote in this book was my own. And I'm incredibly proud of it. The story had to be told.
As you were saying this, I was thinking back to 2016, and you remember, Eric, like the narrative, which is you guys are a bunch of clowns. You can't do anything. And suddenly we pull off this historic win. And I always joke with people, you remember we're at the Midtown Hilton, and I joke with people, it was like a cash bar. Hillary Clinton's at the Kravitz Center, big glass ceiling, like fireworks and like circus animals. And we pulled this win off, and then it was almost like they had to find a way to sort of excuse their incompetence and the failure to see the Trump movement. And they created these narratives. And it was like, I can't believe that. I was like, there's no way anyone's going to take this serious, right? It was amazing to me, to your point. It was like, oh, well, there were servers in the basement. There were agents and there were Martians coming down. They were so, I think, disgusted with their incompetence overall, but also the lack of understanding of the Trump movement, right? I mean, where do you think, because I still can't put my finger on where it all started in the sense of the shift from, oh my God, we lost, to we've got to find a reason.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, Hillary made up the whole Russia thing. She funded the entire thing, right, to try and get herself a few more votes. And then to try and save face when a bunch of kind of derelicts who didn't know it. Hey, I remember being asked to speak at the Iowa caucuses by some like 23-year-old staff member, right? The biggest location in all of Iowa. And I literally turned around. I had been on the campaign trail for a couple months at that point, right? I mean, I was doing 10 events a day in every little town across all the swing states. And I finally look at the guy and go, what the hell is a caucus? Like, can you explain this to me? Like, I've pretended for the longest time to fully understand this, but like, I have no idea what the hell a caucus is. And by the way, most of your viewers, unless you lived in Iowa, wouldn't either, right? We're real estate people. We had a 5-to-1 fundraising deficit against Hillary Clinton. My father pretty much funded his entire first campaign. We raised a little bit of money at the very end, but like, she raised $1.5 billion. She actually knew something about Washington, D.C. My father had been to Washington 10 times, and that was as we built a hotel. He didn't know we didn't have any senators. We didn't have any congressmen. We didn't have any endorsements. You know who my father had? He had me. He had Don. He had you. He had Kellyanne. He had Corey. That was about it. And we took out the greatest political dynasty of all time, and they were pissed. I mean, then he went in and he flicked the hornet's nest over and over, and they lashed out. And that was the retaliation, putting us under siege, trying to imprison all of us, trying to bankrupt all of us, trying to gag us, trying to silence us, trying to take away our First Amendment, and trying to destroy the greatest political movement ever created.
Just yesterday, we hear about this FBI looking into 7 senators, 1 member of Congress. And I saw a lot of people this morning excuse it and say, yeah, but it's just looking into them. And I was like, yeah, but these are members of Congress, and I don't see what their connection is, but you're looking at the metadata from their phones and people are already, again, excusing this as if it's no big deal.
Does that surprise you? I mean,
No.
Jackson, look, Sean, I was the guy that got the call when the 30 FBI agents were outside the front gates of Mar-a-Lago. Sir, you have agents here with a search warrant. Why are they at Mar-a-Lago? I'm not sure if I understand. Like, we love law enforcement. Like, why are they there, right? You know, these are the people that demanded that I turn off our security cameras at Mar-a-Lago during the raid. I go, I'm not turning off our security cameras. I'm not turning
Why
off
do they want them off, Eric? Why? I mean, I know.
Well, I don't know. 3 years later, we find out that Jack Smith was planting documents at Mar-a-Lago. He's planting folders that say top secret, arranging them on the floor of this beautiful carpet in my father's office. I mean, does that surprise you? I mean, why are they saying that the raid came on behalf of the National Archives Association? Why is right? So you mean to tell me that the 45th president of the United States had their house raided on behalf of NARA? We knew that was BS at the time. I went on Sean Hannity that night and I said, this came from the top. This came from Merrick Garland and came from Joe Biden, right? But no. The raid was on behalf of National Archives. Give me a break. Does it surprise you? The fact that Jack Smith was spying on senators is the least surprising thing I've probably heard all week. I mean, come on. I mean, they were planting documents at Mar-a-Lago. This was after they tried to bankrupt us. This was after they tried to imprison us. This is after they tried to indict my father 91 times for doing absolutely nothing wrong. This is after I had received 112 subpoenas, the most subpoenaed person arguably in American history, for doing absolutely nothing wrong. They put us under siege. And Sean, we won. The beauty of it is we won.
Sorry to jump in on this video, but if you're thinking about a great dinner, I've got the perfect solution for you. Riverbend Ranch steaks. They are absolutely amazing. You cannot get these in grocery stores. And frankly, they're better than anything you can get in a steakhouse. Go to riverbendranch.com. Use code Sean for $20 off your first order. riverbendranch.com. For your first order, use code Sean. And by the way, the hot dogs, the beef jerky, everything else is phenomenal. From the ranch to your table, riverbendranch.com. Use code Sean. So, Eric, as you said, you're this business guy. You're involved in real estate deals. Your dad comes. I mean, you actually, more than that, you were also like on television. You guys were highly successful in that endeavor as well. Your dad says, hey, I want to run for president. But you're well educated, as is your brother and your sister, right? I mean, you guys grew up understanding how the government works, like we all did. Like, this is how government works. We elect people. When you look back on this process now, and you go, okay, I'm a smart guy. I'm a successful businessman. I thought I knew how the government worked. How much of it is like a surprise to you going, holy smokes, like I didn't realize that you could actually have this kind of stuff happen in America?
I'm beyond surprised. I'll never forget, my father called us all up to his office and he goes, kids, I'm running for president. You know, I'm going to do this. That's exactly what he said. He goes, kids, I'm going to do this. And he said, let's do it, meaning, you know, everything we ever did, whether it's The Apprentice or real estate, it was always a family effort. He goes, you know, let's do this. And then he paused for a second. He goes, we're going to figure out very quickly who our true friends are. They're going to hit us in ways that we can't even possibly imagine. And I'm sitting there saying, oh, this will be great. You know, we'll run, we'll give it our all. You know, we'll speak from the heart. I'll talk about a father that I love. You know, he'll go to Washington. I'll run our company because that's what I do. Is still obviously what I do. You know, it'll be great. I'll run our golf course. I'll run our hotels. I'll build some great buildings. It'll be great. I never thought that 98% of my time was keeping the animals off of our family. Sean, I probably spent $400 million in legal fees to defend against hoaxes. And there's been no accountability, right? I mean, hoaxes. They made up a dirty dossier that had details in it that were so horrible, right? People would go to jail for slander. They would lose everything they had based on the slanderous nature of it, and no one's been held accountable. I mean, Hillary literally, I mean, the Russia hoax, Sussman, everything that came out of that, you know, I mean, they allowed that hoax to be perpetrated for 3 years. You have servers in the basement of Trump Tower communicating directly with the criminal. I go, come down to Trump Tower, come down to the basement. Like, right. FBI, you're welcome. Like, I can disprove this lie in 2 seconds, but they let it percolate for a 3-year period of time, right? So that some woman could save a little face. They pitted 2 of the largest nuclear superpowers in the world against each other so they could. The fact that Jack Smith was spying on senators is the least shocking thing after the hell that they put me through. And I was the one that took so much of the hell because I didn't have the constitutional protections of the executive branch, right? I was the civilian that was effectively running everything that my father had ever built and everything that he had ever created. And so I'm so happy that the world fully understands who these people are. The Democratic Party is the weakest party it's ever been. the media is all but gutted, meaning the mainstream media, by people like you and independent voices, like Joe Rogan, right? And they no longer have the clout that they did in 2017, where they could let a narrative like that ride for a 3-year period of time and people would actually believe them. No one believes the media anymore. No one believes the Democratic Party. There's only so many times you can cry wolf. And I'm so glad that my father's opened the eyes to the entire corruption of the system, because no one else could have done it. No one else would have had the voice or the pocketbook to do it.
No, I mean, one, I tell people this all the time. When you get called in front of these guys, whether it's a congressional committee or the Mueller report, I mean, and your name is much bigger than mine, meaning that, like, when I might have 1 or 2 lawyers, Eric Trump probably has 15, but like, it costs money just to say I did nothing wrong, or I want to have a conversation. You have to have 8 lawyers. And I don't think people fully appreciate when you talk about this, that so many people got dragged into this hoax to defend what was indefensible because it didn't exist. But Eric, you said something that I thought was so fascinating. When your father said that he was running and he said, all right, kids, we're going to find out who's with us. That is ostensibly like 2015. Here we are 10 years later. As you look at that, think back on what you just said. I think through my tenure with him and how many people ran away as soon as trouble came, right? It was, oh, there's an incident here. He said this about Charlottesville, not true. And I've got to distance myself from him. And how many of these people, as soon as it didn't look like all rosy, bolted and now try to come back in the fold? And so I want to ask you this question. How do you define loyalty? Because I'm conflicted on this, admittedly. If people wake up today and say, you know what? I voted for Hillary Clinton. I voted for Kamala Harris. I voted for Joe Biden. But I've seen the light. I've realized that Donald Trump's taking on the system. He's getting things done. He's making America stronger, more prosperous. And I want to come to the team. A large part of me wants to say welcome. But what I can't get over are the people who've been disloyal to your dad and to your family, who at a moment's notice bolted and now want to grift on the name again and make money.
Those are different people, just so you know. I love the people who said, you know what, I was wrong. You were right. And like, I see the light, and wow, they got me. The media got me. The system got me, right? That's very, very different than the people who were, mother effing you in the background. And then all of a sudden you win in 2024. And all of a sudden you get these, or in 2017, and you get these, beautiful texts. Hey, buddy, I was with you the entire time. I love you. I'm sorry, I see you on TV every day. I know how busy you've been. You've been so busy, so I want to stay out of your way, but I was really there. And I'm like, no, you weren't. Like, there's a difference between phony and changing your mind based on more facts and having your eyes open to what's happening in the world. Those are two very different people. I mean, but what was amazing is, like, NBC. You remember we had the #1 show. My father had the #1 show on NBC, The Apprentice. I was on it for the last 7 seasons of it. They tried so hard to get my father to sign 3 more seasons. I was in the office. My father goes, you know what, guys, I really have something else in mind. And NBC was getting eaten up by CBS because CBS had Survivor. Survivor was the #1 show. Apprentice comes along. NBC was winning again. My father goes down that escalator a couple days later, and NBC turns on him like he's a dog, like they had never even met him, like they had never seen him before. It's amazing how fast people will turn. It's amazing how fast you'll get that text message. Right? The 2021 was quiet. The phone stopped ringing. And guess what? November 5th, November 6th of 2024, man, I don't think I've ever received more text messages in my life. And believe me, we know exactly who the good ones are, and we know exactly who the bad ones are. And I think it's the reason my father has the incredible cabinet he has right now, because all the others have kind of, weeded themselves out.
I agree. It's funny. I love Dan Scavino put out this text the day after the election. He said, if I haven't heard from you in the last 4 years, don't call me now.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's great. In your opinion, what is different between now, the first time, and the second time? You mentioned the people. I agree with you 100% on that. What do you think the big differences are?
Well, let's just take that. The mainstream media is dead, right, on a relative basis. They could not be beaten. It was very tough to beat them in 2016. I mean, we beat them, but man, was that tough. We have the House, we have the Senate, we have a 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court, we have the executive branch, and we have a cabinet of total killers, right? And we have independent voice in this country, and no longer have censorship and the dials being turned down. You have X, that's free speech. You have Truth Social, that's free speech. You've got the Joe Rogans of the world out there, right, who have massive, audiences that aren't controlled by the corporate establishment, that have amazing voices. Take my wife's show on Fox News. She's got more people watching her on a Saturday night at 9:00, My View with Laura Trump, than network TV does, right? CBS on many of the biggest days during the week, right? People have tuned them out. Look at the Oscars, look at the Emmys. No one watches the crap anymore. The ratings are abysmal versus 10 years ago because they've turned woke. Everything that went woke went to hell and has failed. At the same time, now all of a sudden you have all these new platforms where you have people with independent voice and they're touching the listeners. People are consuming media in different ways. And so I think my father's administration this time is 2017 on steroids. But it's 2017 on steroids with advocacy that we never, ever had in the first administration, and a Democratic Party that's totally falling apart. All while my father throws so much lead in the air that they literally can't counter narrative. It is so much freaking fun to watch, and he's having a blast, and he's so good at what he's doing. And, after everything they did to us, after this, after the siege, after trying to destroy us, I can't tell you how proud I am of him, how proud I am of this fight, how proud I am of you, of Steve, of all of our friends who have stood there and been prosecuted and targeted and harassed unmercilessly, and yet we came out the other side victorious. Those are the people that are going to go down in history as the true warriors. And I'm proud to have never, ever, ever for 1 second, even in the darkest age, have left that stage.
Yeah, it's funny. I think I talked to him last week. He has such a level of, to your point, a level of confidence now. He enjoys the job. He seems like he's always having a good time. And even in the most difficult times, he gets the power of the presidency. He gets the tools at his disposal. He's got an amazing team, as you mentioned. What's funny, though, Eric? You mentioned all these forces, and I can't help but notice what's going on this week. I live here in Virginia. The Attorney General Democratic candidate, Jay Jones, comes out with these texts about wanting to put, this has got to be near and dear to your heart. You've got him threatening to kill the former Speaker of the House, a guy named Todd Gilbert, by putting 2 bullets in his head. And the Democrat Party that told us a couple of weeks ago after Charlie Kirk's assassination, it happens on both sides. It's a both sides thing. We all need to take the temperature down, has kind of just muddled the response to this. And by the way, this comes on the heels of yesterday, J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, saying that Kristi Noem needs to release her thugs, which are ICE agents, federal agents, doing their job, implementing the law of the country. And yet, here we are once again. Your father gets assassinated, attempted assassination. We still don't know entirely what happened there, but we all need to take the temperature down. Charlie Kirk assassinated, life snuffed out. We all need to take the temperature down. It happens on both sides. And here they are again, the latest example of this. And, we are literally all under siege and nothing from the left.
Every time I hear this from somebody on CNN or somebody on ABC or NBC, Eric, what do you think about everybody just taking the temperature down? I start gritting my teeth and I do this. Really? Government's being weaponized because they're going after Comey for what very much looks to me. It very much looked like he lied to Ted Cruz to me. We're just watching that video, and so somebody gets prosecuted, no different than every person that we knew in my father's inner circle, right? They went after every single one of them, but yet, hey, don't worry about Hillary deleting 33,000 emails. Don't worry about impeachment 1, impeachment 2, raids on Mar-a-Lago, Russiagate, dirty dossiers. Let's not hold any of them accountable. How about the justices in Colorado and Maine that took my father? Literally subverted the will of the American people. Just willy-nilly took them off the ballots and stayed. Don't worry about them. How about Letitia James and Alvin Bragg and Judge Merchan and Judge Engoron? Don't worry about any of those, those crooked actors, right? Who have all been overturned since. Nothing to see there. How about so many of the problems that we saw in the 2020 election? Nothing to see there. But, James Comey is being targeted, a man who is supposed to be leading the FBI, supposed to be keeping our homeland safe, but instead spent his entire time leaking memos to the New York Times. Give me a break. I don't want to hear it from these people. I just don't want to hear it from them. My father cares about restoring this nation, restoring our flag, restoring Christianity and God to society, restoring family values, having the greatest military. having a country that we're proud of, ending woke nonsense, having great education in this nation. That's what he cares about. And all the time, safe cities, obviously in Chicago, you saw how quickly he cleaned up Washington, D.C. 12 days, they arrested 1,700 people, and Washington, D.C. hasn't had a crime since practically, right? But yet Pritzker, the Democrats have run that city for 100 years, and it's only gotten worse every single year, and he goes in to try and help, and, and all of a sudden he's the Antichrist for doing it. It is so disgusting and so crazy, and by the way, that's why we won, Sean, in such spectacular fashion. That's why we won the popular vote. That's why we won every swing state. That's why we won every state in the nation tacked to the right.
By the way,
because
it's funny.
People aren't putting up with this nonsense.
I say to people, what's funny is your dad's not up for re-election, okay? And where is he spending his time and effort? Helping blue cities get safer. No one wants to talk about the political piece of this, which is he could be out there sucking up to every red state voter, giving them subsidies, like going to Montana and Florida and places that voted for him. But no one wants to actually talk about the political reality that he's spending his political capital keeping the cities safe who didn't vote for him. I mean, think about the political irony of that. He is spending his last year in term limited in office helping people be safe because he actually cares about the country, not just partisan politics. And that is such a narrative that will never get told about him.
Well, I mean, listen, Donald Trump was the last person who actually needed to run for politics. We are the last family, as you know better than anybody, Sean, that needed this job. Believe me, his life would have been a hell of a lot better just living at Mar-a-Lago and playing golf every day and enjoying his grandkids and running a beautiful company and enjoying me and, versus the thousands of hours he's had to take, the millions of subpoenas we've all gotten and depositions and document discovery and, him having his ear shot off and almost getting killed another time. And believe me, our lives would be a lot better. The reason he does this is he wants to fight for this nation, and a nation that has been so poorly managed, by incompetent people, frankly, on both sides, but mainly on the left. And there's nothing that warms my heart more than him fixing Chicago. I built a great building. I operate a great building in that.
I've stayed in it.
I built every inch of Trump International Chicago, and I know that city. And I mean, you have parents, you have moms and dads in Washington D.C. whose children are alive today because of his actions and going and getting the bad guys off the street. They used to have 7, 8, 10 murders a weekend. Now they have none. There are people alive because of Donald Trump, and isn't that amazing that they deny that? They deny that help in Chicago, which has worse crime statistics than Baghdad. Who are these people? If I was a Democratic, governor or mayor, I'd be begging. I'd be in the Oval Office begging for the extra resources from the federal government. Isn't that what the federal government's there to do?
Yeah. Yeah, Eric. The last thing I want to ask you is you mentioned, I mean, when your dad decided to run, you took over the businesses. And this doesn't get as much attention, but I want you to explain to audiences, you guys got debanked, right? And so number one, explain what that means and what it meant for you guys as a company. As something, this isn't like a Girl Scout account that has $100 in it. It's the Trump organization, right? So explain what that did and what that meant, and then why you got into crypto.
Imagine the darkest days getting a letter saying all of your accounts are hereby closed. You've got very little time to close them. And sitting there saying, okay, we've got the biggest commercial buildings in the world, hotels, residential buildings, tens of thousands of people on the payroll of these, thousands of vendors, thousands of customers, ACH payments, lockbox provisions in loan agreements with other lenders. Real estate taxes that have to be paid, utilities that have to be paid. Capital One was by far the worst. They canceled roughly 300 accounts. They stripped us down like we were dogs, and I started getting these, and I was one obviously responsible for it. They wanted to take the rails away from the organization, and it was one of the worst periods in, honestly, my life. I didn't sleep for a 6-month period, and neither did our team. It was horrible. And by the way, I'm suing Capital One over it right now and a couple of the other banks over right now. And it warms my heart to be doing that. And I'm doing that on behalf of every American that was debanked. But I found cryptocurrency and I realized how antiquated the banks were. There is nothing that can't be done better, faster, cheaper, more transparently on blockchain. I started a company called American Bitcoin. We just got listed on the NASDAQ 2 weeks ago. I think we're going to be one of the great Bitcoin companies anywhere in the world. It's the number one performing asset over the last decade. In the last year, it's gone up. It's doubled. It was 60,000 roughly this time last year. Now it's 125,000 as 126,000 as of last night. Start a company called World Liberty Financial. My goal is to replace big bank finance and do so again faster, cheaper, more transparently. There's no reason that on a Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock, if you miss a deadline, you shouldn't be able to send out a wire transfer in 2025. There's no reason, Sean Spicer, if you want to go get a mortgage on your home, that it should take you 120 days with a bank that you've done business with for 25 years who has to go through antiquated paper forms and know your customers. It's insane. Crypto is going to replace modern day finance, and it is coming. It is growing faster than the speed of the internet. I think Bitcoin is leading the way, certainly in terms of being digital gold. What we're doing, USD1 in terms of stablecoin, I think is going to be the rails. And I've never been more proud to be associated with something. And I've never had a greater goal than to replace modern day finance and modern day banking, institutions who have been so punitive to you and me and everybody watching us right now. And it's coming, guys, and it's right around the corner. And so, take a look at crypto, open your mind to it, start researching it. I think you'll probably go down the same rabbit hole that I've gone down over the last 3-4 years.
I probably will. I got to set aside some time. Eric Trump, thanks for being here. Congratulations on the book. The Name is Under Siege. It comes out next week. Pre-order it now on Amazon or wherever you get books. Really appreciate your time, Eric. Congrats.
Thanks, Sean.
You bet. Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.